There is an old line that has survived every empire that tried to bury it. When the student is ready, the master appears. If you are hearing this, the timing is not an accident. Nothing about you arriving here is an accident. And by the end, you'll understand exactly why I can say that with such certainty. What you're about to receive is not a lecture. It is a key. 7 keys, in fact, forged from what tradition calls the Emerald Tablet, the teaching attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the figure the Egyptians knew as the god of wisdom. 7 principles that, laid side by side, become a single master key, and that key opens every door in the Temple of Mysteries. Understand this before we begin. These 7 principles are not opinions. They are not beliefs you are being asked to adopt. They are the framework upon which this universe was built. To understand them is to understand how reality actually operates beneath the surface you've been trained to accept as solid. And the one who masters them stops being a passenger in their own life. They become the author of it. You'll notice as we descend that each principle folds into the next. Their order is not random. Mentalism gives birth to correspondence. Correspondence requires vibration. Vibration produces polarity. Polarity swings into rhythm. Rhythm is governed by cause and effect, and all of it is animated by gender, the 2 forces from which everything is born. 7 doors. 1 key. Step through the first, and the rest begin to open on their own. The first principle, mentalism. Everything you are about to build rests on one foundation. Get this wrong and the other 6 collapse. Get it right, and reality itself becomes negotiable. The first Hermetic law states it in 5 words. The all is mind. The universe is mental. It sounds almost too simple to matter. But sit with what it's actually claiming. It's saying that the world you're looking at right now, the walls around you, the device in your hand, the body you're wearing, is not fundamentally made of solid, tangible matter. It is a mental construct, a projection, a creation of what the ancient teachers called the universal mind, the all. Every element you can see, touch, and feel is part of one vast mental projection. Many people, when they first grasp this, reach for the only word our era has given them for it. They call it the matrix. And they're not wrong. This universe that feels so concrete is an elaborate construct emerging from consciousness itself. Here is where it becomes personal. The masters of Hermeticism taught that there is an unbreakable connection between your individual mind and that universal mind. You are not separate from the all. You are a spark of it. When you think, when you create, when you imagine, you are not using some private little tool trapped inside your skull. You are wielding a fragment of the same mind that spun the galaxies into being. So a question rises immediately. If we are sparks of the all, if the creative power of the universe runs through us, why do we feel so cut off from it? Why does life so often feel like something happening to us rather than through us? The answer is the oldest one in the tradition. The human mind, limited by its experiences, its conditioning, its inherited perceptions, is trapped inside an illusion. The illusion of separateness. The belief that you are a small, isolated thing looking out at a vast, indifferent world. This is not only a mystical claim. Buddha said it plainly. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. Our mind is everything. And now, science, after centuries of insisting the opposite, has begun walking back toward this same truth. Max Planck, the father of quantum physics, said it without hedging. I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. consider what stands behind that statement. It comes from the double-slit experiment, first performed by Thomas Young 2 centuries ago, and made far stranger as quantum science matured. The setup is simple. Fire a single particle, an electron, at a barrier with 2 slits. Place a screen behind it to record where the particles land. When no one observes the electron, it behaves like a wave. It passes through both slits at once and creates an interference pattern. Ripples overlapping ripples, like 2 stones dropped in a still pond. But the moment you introduce an instrument to observe which slit the electron passes through, it changes its behavior. It stops being a wave. It becomes a particle. It picks one slit. The interference pattern vanishes, replaced by the mark of a single definite path. Read that again, because it is one of the most important facts ever discovered. The act of observation changed reality. The observer reached in and forced the particle to choose. Consciousness, focused on a point, determined the state of the thing it was looking at. This is the beating heart of the first law. Reality is malleable. Reality is subjective. Reality responds to the conscious mind that observes, interacts, and creates. This is what Hermes pointed to thousands of years before we had the instruments to confirm it. Picture your mind as a vast ocean. Every thought, every act of attention is a stone tossed onto the surface. Each one sends out ripples that touch everything around them. When you direct your attention to something, you throw the stone. You create the movement. You collapse pure potential into manifestation. Exactly like the electron that becomes a particle the instant it is watched. Which brings us to the danger. If the mind is the instrument of creation, then your attention is the most valuable thing you own. And we live in an age engineered to steal it. This is not paranoia. It is economics. In a world where your power to shape reality depends on the strength of your focus, whoever controls your focus controls your creative power. That is why the war for your attention is total. Every notification, every feed, every endless scroll is a hand reaching into your ocean and stirring the water until you can no longer aim a single stone. They fragment your mind, and a fragmented mind cannot create. It can only react. You stop being the author of your experience and become a mirror reflecting whatever is put in front of you. Studies confirm what the tradition warned. The flood of information and constant stimulation erodes your ability to concentrate, to remember, to hold a thought long enough to give it force. Your attention, once a blade, is worn dull. Aldous Huxley saw it coming when he wrote that distraction would become the most effective means of control ever devised. A scattered mind, running on beliefs it never chose, cannot shape its own reality, so it shapes someone else's instead. And it goes deeper than distraction, because everything you absorb, even what seems trivial, leaves a mark. It sinks past the conscious mind into the subconscious, where it hardens into belief, into fear, into pattern. The subconscious is the true engine of creation, and most people have handed it over to whoever is loudest. They let external forces program the very layer of mind that builds their world. So how do you take it back? You reclaim your attention. And nothing on earth is more effective for that than meditation. If the mind is the matrix from which everything is created, then a mind in constant motion, yanked in every direction, has lost its ability to focus and to intend. Meditation is how you gather that scattered light back into a single beam, a lens focusing sunlight to a point until it can ignite fire. In the tradition, meditation is a return to zero, the still point where nothing and everything coexist. And it is only from that stillness, that full presence, that the mind becomes a real instrument of conscious creation. Treat it as training. Every time you sit in silence and return your focus to the breath, every time a thought arises and you gently set it aside, you break another link in the chain of distraction. You are teaching the mind presence. You are teaching it non-reaction. Attention is a muscle, and this is how it grows strong enough to resist the forces that would spend it for you. But meditation does something more. It opens the door to the subconscious. And the subconscious is what actually dictates what you manifest. If you want to transform your reality, you have to descend into that deep layer and dissolve the beliefs, fears, and wounds that quietly sabotage you. In the stillness, old patterns surface to be seen, and what is seen can finally be released. This is how you align the conscious mind with the subconscious, so the two stop working against each other and start building the same world. Understand what the subconscious really is. It does not run on logic or reason. It runs on symbols, memories, emotions. Imagine it as a camera that has been recording since your earliest days. Every moment, every word, every image, and crucially the emotional charge attached to each one. Those recordings become invisible molds. They decide how you see the world, what you expect from your relationships, what you believe is possible for you. This is where limiting beliefs live. Someone who believes, beneath all conscious awareness, that they are unworthy of love will quietly push away the very people who offer it. These beliefs run like hidden programs, locking you into cycles you don't understand, filtering your perception so that the world reflects not what you want, but what you secretly believe you deserve. The subconscious is a mirror, and it shows you its contents without mercy. The good news is that molds can be recast through repetition, through affirmation, visualization, and disciplined mental practice. You can uproot old beliefs and plant new ones. If you seek abundance, you first find and dissolve the belief that says I am not worthy, or the world is scarce. Then you plant new seeds. I am worthy of abundance. The universe is generous. And you water them with emotion, because emotion is the fuel the subconscious runs on. It does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly felt. Feel the confidence, the security, the abundance as if it were already true. And the subconscious accepts it as its new program and begins reflecting it back to you as reality. This is the first law in full. You are a co-creator of your reality. Your mind is a temple, and whatever you cultivate inside it inevitably appears in the world outside it. Surrender your attention to distraction, and you become a servant in your own temple. Reclaim it through focus, through meditation, through the deliberate reprogramming of your inner depths, and you take back the reins of creation. You choose what grows in your inner garden, and what grows there grows everywhere. The all is mind, and a fragment of that mind is looking out through your eyes right now.
The second principle, correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. This single line from the Emerald Tablet is one of the most quoted phrases in all of occult history, and one of the least understood. It invites you to look past appearances and see something staggering. The microcosm and the macrocosm are not two separate things. They are two faces of the same reality. The intelligence that shapes the stars is the same intelligence that shapes the atoms inside your body. The second law is the principle of correspondence, and it holds that reality is structured fractally, Everything in the universe is connected, and every fragment of the whole reflects the whole. The cells of your body carry the same genetic code that defines your entire organism. Each cell, a tiny model of the body it serves. The motion of galaxies mirrors the motion of electrons around a nucleus. The same laws hold whether you're looking at the astronomical scale or the subatomic one. This law teaches you to see the universe as a great mirror. If you want to understand reality, first understand yourself. Because just as the macrocosm shapes the microcosm, your inner state shapes the world around you. And there is the key hidden inside the second law. Change what is within, and you change what is without. Every serious tradition has pointed at this. Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you. Just as the cosmos contains the potential for everything, the human being carries the seed of the divine in the microcosm of the self. You are, at once, an observer of the universe and a creation of it, a reflection of the whole in a single point. Plotinus put it directly. The more a man knows himself, the more he knows the universe and what lies beyond it. To understand the cosmos, first unveil the cosmos inside you, your inner state, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, acts as a lens that shapes how you perceive everything outside. When you are at peace, the world appears peaceful. When you are in conflict, the world turns hostile and jagged, and this reveals something the modern mind resists. The barrier you feel between yourself and everything else is an illusion. You are part of a greater whole, and what moves inside you is in constant conversation with what moves outside. Transform the inner universe, and you retune your entire relationship with the outer one. Carl Jung mapped the same territory from the side of psychology. He showed that the personal unconscious is a reflection of the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of images, ideas, and archetypes shared across all of humanity. Just as the cosmos is in constant motion, the inner universe of each person is dynamic and alive. Explore it, and you don't merely discover yourself. You connect with the same archetypal forces that run through the entire cosmos. The spiritual journey, then, is a journey inward, a return to the universal center that lives within you. There is another layer to this law, and it is one of the most practical ideas in all of Hermeticism: the correspondence between spirit and matter. They seem like opposites. They are not. They are reflections of the same essential reality. Spirit is the original plane, the causal level where ideas and energies begin. Matter is the reflection of that origin, shaped by the invisible laws of the spirit. Think of spirit as the source and matter as the image projected from it. The visible world is sculpted by invisible forces, the way a statue is sculpted from an idea that existed first in the mind. This is why every transformation you want to see in the material world must begin on the level of spirit, on the level of intention, thought, and belief. Look at DNA. A structure invisible to the naked eye, yet it contains all the information needed to build an entire living body. That is the relationship between spirit and matter in miniature. The unseen source carrying the blueprint, and the physical form expressing it. So when you align your mind and your intentions with these deeper laws, you begin to influence matter itself, not by force, not by manipulation, by alignment. When you truly grasp that matter is nothing but spirit slowed down and made dense, you realize the most profound changes happen when you work at the level of cause, the spiritual level, rather than fighting endlessly with effects. Someone seeking prosperity understands that abundance begins in the spirit, in a mind that generates self-worth, confidence, and gratitude. Nurture those inner patterns, and the outer reflection follows. Gradually, sometimes subtly, but inevitably. Now watch how this same law is written into the fabric of nature, because it is not only philosophy, It is observable. The clearest signature of as above, so below is the fractal. Fractals are patterns that repeat across every scale, from the smallest object to the largest structure. Look at the spiral of a nautilus shell, then look at the spiral arms of a galaxy. The same form, separated by unimaginable orders of magnitude. The same Fibonacci sequence that arranges the petals of a flower also arranges the arms of those galaxies. Many call this sacred geometry, the language the cosmos uses to structure everything from subatomic particles to the growth of plants to the birth of star systems. The cycles echo each other too. Birth, growth, death, renewal. The seasons turning in an endless wheel, and every living thing turning through its own version of the same cycle. Your circulatory system is a microcosm of Earth's water cycle. Just as rivers run to the ocean, your blood runs to the heart and back out again, nourishing and connecting every part. Flow and return on two vastly different scales, governed by one underlying intelligence. David Bohm, the physicist who worked alongside Einstein, proposed exactly this. He called it the implicate order. The idea that reality is not a collection of separate parts, but an indivisible whole, where each fragment reflects the totality, like a hologram in which every piece contains the whole image. Benoit Mandelbrot, who gave us the mathematics of fractals, revealed that these self-repeating patterns are a fundamental feature of nature itself. Look at the universe through the fractal lens, and every small part turns out to be a scaled version of the whole. As above, so below stops being a metaphor and becomes a measurable fact. And here is where the law reaches into your daily life, because your outer world, your results, your health, even your physical body, is a direct mirror of your inner world, your beliefs, your intentions, and above all, your daily habits. Every small act you repeat is an expression of your mindset, and repeated long enough, it becomes a visible, tangible reality. Like a stone dropped in a lake, your habits and thought patterns ripple outward and shape your body and your circumstances. A disciplined mind is fertile ground for healthy, consistent habits. Someone with inner clarity and purpose reflects that order in their body. Regular rhythms, movement, nourishment. The body becomes the visible expression of an organized mind, strong, balanced, alive. A disordered mind, one that surrenders to every distraction and sets no priorities, produces the opposite. A body carrying the marks of that inner chaos. Fatigue, excess, the slow erosion that comes from always reaching for immediate comfort. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act. It is a habit. This is the second law made practical. To change any outer result in your body, your health, your relationships, you begin on the inside. You change the mind and the spirit, and your daily habits begin to reflect that shift. And gradually, your entire external world reorganizes itself around the new inner configuration. Those who have real clarity of purpose develop the habits that sustain that purpose. A strong body, a clear mind, an ordered life. These are the reflections of a soul that has found its reason to exist and expresses it through every small action. As above, so below. As within, so without. The mirror never lies. It only reflects what you truly are.
The third principle, vibration. Imagine for a moment that everything around you, the solid ground beneath your feet, the fleeting thought crossing your mind, is in constant motion, an eternal pulse of energy that never once stops. This is the third Hermetic principle, the law of vibration, and it declares something absolute. Nothing rests. Nothing is static. Everything vibrates. From the oldest Hermetic texts to the frontier of quantum physics, this single idea has been a foundation for everyone who ever tried to unlock how the cosmos truly works. Movement is the essence of all creation, And there is no true solidity anywhere. At its deepest level, everything is energy, and energy is always in motion. This wasn't unique to Hermeticism. In the Vedic tradition, Om is the primordial sound, the original vibration of creation permeating the entire cosmos. Heraclitus said everything flows, and that change is the only constant. Across every culture that looked deeply enough, the same recognition surfaced. The universe is a state of ceaseless flow. In Hermeticism, vibration is the bridge between the visible and the invisible, the physical and the metaphysical. That is why this law is the key to understanding the others. It explains how matter, mind, and spirit are all connected. Consider a single, staggering idea from the tradition. Matter is frozen light. This material world is essentially light vibrating at an extremely low frequency. Every form of matter, every kind of energy, has a specific frequency, and that frequency determines what it is. And modern physics confirms what the ancients intuited. What you perceive as solid matter is, in reality, a dance of subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, electrons, in perpetual motion. They vibrate even in what we call the resting state. Einstein said everything in the universe is energy and vibration. His famous equation showed that matter and energy are interchangeable, two forms of one essence, which is precisely the Hermetic claim, stated in mathematics. Go deeper, and it only intensifies. Atoms, once thought to be the smallest building blocks, are made of still smaller particles, quarks and gluons, and those vibrate too. Werner Heisenberg gave us the uncertainty principle. You cannot pin down both the position and the velocity of a particle at once, which led physics to a shocking conclusion. At the quantum level, matter has no fixed form. It oscillates. It dissolves into waves of possibility and returns as particles. Matter is a temporary state, a momentary condensation of energy that is always vibrating, always transforming. And here the third law shakes hands with the first. Those waves of possibility respond to observation. The observer alters the vibration of what is observed. The one who watches and the thing being watched are joined in a single vibrational field, where consciousness and intention directly shape the outcome. Mind and energy converge to create reality. If physical matter vibrates, then so do thoughts and emotions, because they are energy too, and they obey the same law. Neuroscientists have measured it. Your brain's frequency changes with your mental state. Relaxed, you emit slower waves, alpha waves. Stressed or intensely active, you emit faster ones, beta waves. And this inner vibration doesn't stay inside you. Research at the HeartMath Institute found that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field far more powerful than the brain's. A field that changes with your emotional state and radiates outward, influencing both your own body and the environment around you. Adjust your inner vibration through meditation, focus, or intention, and you change not only your inner state, but the field you project into the world. Psychologist David Hawkins mapped this into a scale of consciousness, assigning frequencies to emotional states. Peace, love, and joy vibrate high. Hatred, resentment, and guilt vibrate low. Love and peace, he found, vibrate high enough to transform the environment and lift the consciousness of everyone in range. Emotions are a vibrational signature you broadcast constantly. When you feel love, gratitude, or compassion, you emit a harmonious wave that draws experiences and people of a similar frequency toward you. When you feel anger, envy, or fear, you generate a denser, more chaotic field that does the opposite. This is why the law of vibration is the true parent of what people call the law of attraction. Attraction is simply vibration in action. Cultivate high-frequency states and you resonate with a more harmonious reality. This is the Hermetic principle of self-mastery. Master your inner vibrational field and you master your destiny. As within, so without. There is a physics term that unlocks the practice. Resonance. A higher frequency can lift a lower one into alignment with itself. This is the mechanism of raising consciousness. When you cultivate elevated states, love, compassion, harmony, you tune yourself toward the purest cosmic vibrations, and you begin to experience unity with the all. As your vibration rises, your perception expands and your intuition sharpens. In elevated states, the brain emits theta waves associated with deep insight. Just as a radio must be tuned precisely to catch a signal, your mind and spirit must vibrate at a harmonious frequency to receive the subtler intelligence that is always broadcasting. Silence and meditation quiet the noise and stabilize your frequency, opening the space where deep insight arrives on its own. The highest frequency a human being can hold is love. Not conditional love, not attachment, but universal, unconditional love. In that state, your cells, your thoughts, and your emotions vibrate in harmony with the source itself. The illusion of separation dissolves, and you feel unified with everything. Hawkins called love the frequency that dissolves fear and heals both the one who emits it and everything around them. Forgiveness is one of the fastest ways to reach it, because it releases the dense emotional weight that keeps you vibrating low. And this is not only personal. Raise your own frequency, and you contribute to the vibration of the whole. Rupert Sheldrake called it the morphic field, the idea that each individual's emotions and intentions ripple into the collective, vibrate in peace and compassion, and you infuse those qualities into the shared field, influencing everyone around you. This is why Gandhi said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Elevate your own frequency, and you become a light that awakens others. So how do you apply it? The methods are simple and within reach. Watch your words and thoughts, because each one emits a frequency. Cultivate constructive speech and a clear mind. Meditate daily to stabilize and lift your personal vibration. Spend time in nature, whose vibrations are pure and balanced. Walk in a forest, lie on the sand, enter the ocean, and let your frequency realign with the Earth's, and mind what you consume. Fresh, living food carries a higher frequency than processed products, and what you eat becomes part of what you vibrate. Cultivate elevated thoughts, pure emotions, and a connection to the higher self, and you vibrate in harmony with creation itself. This is the essence of the journey, raising your frequency until it resonates with the cosmos, until you experience unity, universal love, and connection with the all. Remember in every thought and every gesture that you are made of the same rhythm that moves the stars, the same breath that first gave life to the world. Nothing rests, and what you choose to vibrate, you become. The fourth principle, polarity. Picture a cosmic dance, light and shadow, love and hate, inspiration and fear, all of it orchestrated by a single truth. That truth is the fourth Hermetic principle, the law of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. And here is the line that turns the whole law on its head. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. This is the foundation of polarity, and it reveals that everything in existence is connected through opposing poles. Hot and cold, light and darkness, positive and negative. These are not enemies locked in eternal war. They are complementary, two forces of the same current, coexisting to create balance and motion. The law goes far beyond the physical. It operates in your thoughts, your emotions, your daily experience. Have you noticed that happiness can only be understood by someone who has known sadness? They are two sides of one emotional coin. Light could not be named without shadow. Opposites don't merely coexist. They depend on each other to have any meaning at all. So understanding polarity is essential to understanding both yourself and the world. It asks you to stop seeing reality as a battlefield of extremes and start seeing it as a woven fabric, where every polarity contributes to the whole. Instead of choosing sides, you learn to navigate between them, and you do that through the law of vibration, which we'll return to shortly. This is not abstract. Polarity runs through the most ordinary moments. Cooking a meal. You apply heat, positive, to raw, cold food, negative, and the interaction of extremes produces something new. Food ready to eat. Without that polarity, no transformation could occur. It shows up in society and politics too. Conservatism and progressivism, right and left. They seem to be at war, but both are necessary. One provoking change, the other ensuring stability. When one pole dominates completely, the system turns rigid or descends into chaos. The tension between extremes is what creates dialogue, and ideally, progress. In the end, everything is one spectrum. Nowhere is polarity more powerful than in human emotion. Love is expansive. It dissolves barriers, connects us, aligns us with something greater. Fear, its opposite pole, is contractive. It isolates, builds walls, drives us into instincts of protection and survival. These two are the foundation of all creation. And the highest alchemy is the transmutation from one pole to the other, from extreme fear to unconditional love. That is what union with the divine actually means. And notice how emotions are never static. They flow from one pole to the other like a pendulum. The first step to mastering your emotional states is simply recognizing that oscillation for what it is. Polarity is written into existence itself. Life can only be understood because death exists, and the reverse. The leaves fall in autumn to feed the soil in winter, so life can return in spring. Even your smallest choices reflect the law. Every choice means renouncing an alternative. Choose to wake early and meditate, and you give up the comfort of sleep. Choose a spiritual path, and you step away from a purely material one. There is no absolute right or wrong, only the dynamic balance between poles that you choose to live. Look at the atom, the foundation of all matter, and you find polarity in its purest form. Protons, positive charge at the nucleus, the centralizing force that holds the structure together. Electrons, negative charge, orbiting, the dynamic force generating motion and energy. These opposites interact to create stability. Without that electrical polarity, atoms could not bind into molecules, and matter as we know it would not exist. The attraction between them structures everything from the air you breathe to the stars overhead. Everything in the manifested universe is energy oscillating between two poles, and vibration determines where on that spectrum the energy falls. You see it in electromagnetic waves, the basis of radio, television, the internet, and even your own biology. These waves are made of two fields oscillating in opposing poles. The electric field, positive and negative, and the magnetic field, north and south, in constant interaction, propelling the wave forward. It is the polarity between them that lets energy travel and carry signals from one point to another. The light you see, the Wi-Fi you use, the electricity in your walls alternating endlessly between positive and negative charge. All of it is polarity in motion. Now, here is where the law becomes a tool for conscious creation, when it works in harmony with vibration. Polarity reveals the two extremes of any spectrum. Vibration is the movement between them. Take temperature. Hot and cold are not separate things. They are two names for opposite points on one spectrum. And by raising or lowering vibration, you move along it, turning cold into heat. Apply that logic anywhere. Say you're facing financial hardship. You can focus on lack, complain, sink into a victim's mindset, vibrating at the frequency of scarcity, the low end of the spectrum. Or you can deliberately practice gratitude for what you already have and visualize prosperity as a present reality, adjusting your vibration to the frequency of abundance, the high end. Do that, and you naturally begin attracting opportunities aligned with that pole. You may think this is nonsense. Good. Then test it. The alchemist's laboratory is their own mind. Run the experiment yourself and then decide, from your own experience, whether this is how reality works. Heraclitus said, "Struggle is the mother of all things." The tension between opposites is what creates movement, growth, evolution. There is no progress without opposition, no evolution without challenge. The key to real wisdom is to understand the necessity of opposites while transcending the illusion that they are separate. Don't reject or battle one pole. Integrate both within yourself. When you face a difficulty, instead of fixating on the problem, the negative pole, you choose to see the lesson or the opportunity it carries, the positive pole. This turns adversity into fertile ground. True freedom comes when you realize you are not at the mercy of these opposites. You are the consciousness behind the polarity, capable of choosing which side to align with, and by choosing, shaping your reality. So the question is always in your hands. What are you creating in your life today? Are you choosing to feed fear or love?
The fifth principle, rhythm. In the dance of the universe, everything follows a rhythm. Everything oscillates. Everything pulses in perfect cycles. This is the fifth Hermetic Principle, the law of rhythm, and it invites you to watch the movement of the tides, the turning of the seasons, and the rise and fall of your own life. To understand this law is to find harmony inside chaos and balance inside change. Everything in the universe moves in cycles. There is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. This holds across every scale: the birth and death of worlds, the rise and fall of nations, the life of all things, and the ever-shifting states of the human mind. Everything flows in and out in a pendulum motion that governs existence. Like the waves of the sea, there is a moment of advance and a moment of retreat. What rises will fall. What is born will one day dissolve. Just as there was an outpouring at the beginning of everything, so at some point the universe will stop expanding and begin the return journey, a great compensation, until everything comes back to how it began. This is the breath of God. The same law governs your life. Notice how your days swing between light and darkness, your emotions between joy and sorrow, your hours between action and rest. To understand rhythm is to accept that nothing is permanent, not joy, not pain. Everything is in motion, everything is temporary, and just as the pendulum swings, the universe is always seeking balance through its oscillations. This is the secret of universal harmony. On the great stage of the cosmos, rhythm is the invisible conductor. Galaxies turn in spirals. Stars are born in stellar nurseries and die in vast explosions. Returning to the dust of space, nothing stands still. Look at the sky. The sun rises and sets in a perfect cycle that sustains all life. The moon moves through its phases, pulling the tides, touching cycles of fertility, even brushing your emotions. The universe breathes. It expands and contracts as though the whole cosmos were alive. On Earth, the same pattern repeats. Spring brings life, summer ripens it, autumn harvests, winter rests. The eternal wheel of renewal, and rhythm is not only outside you, it is within. Your blood flows in a constant stream. Your heart beats in its own cadence. Your breath follows the rhythm of life. The tides advance and retreat in a choreography dictated by the moon, and your thoughts and emotions rise and fall the same way. Nothing escapes the pendulum. Look closely, and you'll see that what appears to be chaos is simply a rhythm you haven't yet understood. Behind every apparent disorder lies a precise dance, an oscillation that keeps the whole in balance. When you align yourself with these natural cycles, you live in harmony with the universe. And just as the sun always rises after the darkest night, you can trust that after every fall comes a rebirth. Rhythm governs your whole life quietly. From birth, you begin to dance with the cycles of existence. Childhood full of energy and discovery, youth driven by passion and ambition, maturity bringing responsibility and reflection, old age teaching the wisdom of rest. Everything has its season, and each phase has its purpose. But it lives in the small scale too. Some days you wake full of energy, ready to conquer the world. Others you feel tired, withdrawn, in need of silence. This swing between high and low is natural, the pendulum moving within you. Even your emotions obey it. Moments of joy when the world seems to shine, followed by periods of sadness or restlessness. Resisting this is futile. Trying to hold a permanent state of happiness, of stability, is like trying to stop a river with your hands. The secret is to observe without attachment. When you're in a moment of ascent, enjoy it, but know it will end. When you're in a hard season, remember the tide always turns, and the light always returns. As Rumi said, this too shall pass. This is the pendulum of life, swinging from one extreme to the other, but always returning to balance. Rhythm is not a punishment or a trap. It is a reminder that everything you experience is part of a greater dance. Understand that, and you stop fighting the tides and begin to move with them. That is the path to harmony. Think of your emotions as an invisible pendulum, endlessly swinging between extremes. In one moment, joy and lightness. In the next, sadness or fear. Most of us resist this. When we're happy, we try to freeze the moment, clinging as though we could hold it forever. But the pendulum must swing. It is driven by the very force of the universe. And the harder you cling to the positive side, the more violently it swings back to the opposite. The greater the enthusiasm, the greater the potential for melancholy. And when we're in a negative state, we fight to escape it, when in truth, the pendulum returns to center on its own. The challenging emotion will pass. Resisting it is like trying to hold back the sea. The masters of every age taught the same thing. Neutrality is the key. Hermes wrote that the master is not a slave to the pendulum. He observes its motion, but is not carried away by it. To live this wisdom is to learn to rest at the point of balance, the center of the swing. That is where peace lives. When a strong emotion arrives, good or bad, pause. Observe it as a spectator. Ask, why am I feeling this? Where's the pendulum moving? That simple act of observation breaks the cycle of automatic reaction and brings clarity. Treat your emotions like the weather. One day sun, the next rain. You don't control the weather, but you decide how you respond. Rhythm teaches you not to identify with the extremes. You are not the storm nor the shining sun. You are the sky that watches the weather change. There is a deeper turn of this law, and the tradition calls it compensation. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Movement in one direction always finds its answer in the other. The pendulum of a clock swings one way and returns with equal force. The tides that rise with the full moon retreat with the waning one. This applies beyond the physical, into the emotional and mental. The one who can feel the most subtle pleasures is also open to equally subtle sufferings. The one who feels pain intensely also holds a deeper capacity for joy. There is a law governing the degree of joy and suffering each being can hold, and compensation is the scale that keeps it balanced. This reframes suffering entirely. Suffering is not a curse laid upon you. It is a movement of the pendulum that will inevitably be followed by its compensation, a return of joy. Pain, like pleasure, is transient, and its balancing swing will come, restoring the harmony that was lost. It works the other way too. The pleasure you feel now may itself be the compensatory return for suffering you've already passed through. Nothing is given without something being balanced. The wealthy may hold material abundance the poor lack, yet be deprived of the simplicity and peace the poor may find. The millionaire surrounded by luxury may lack the health or appetite to enjoy it, while the laborer takes deep pleasure in a humble meal. The scale is always working, always restoring balance. Rhythm cannot be stopped, but it can be understood and, with practice, mastered. When you realize life is made of cycles, you can prepare for its oscillations instead of being swept away by them. Wisdom is learning to surf the waves rather than fight them. First, observe the cycle. Most people live blind to the patterns in their own lives, but the rhythm leaves clear signs. Your emotions, your energy, even external events follow a pattern. After days of intense output, fatigue arrives. That's not weakness. It's your rhythm seeking balance. Second, anticipate the movement. If you know expansion is followed by contraction, you can prepare. In joy, stay grounded, knowing it may pass. In difficulty, remind yourself it is temporary. When the pendulum swings too hard, use conscious breathing to steady yourself. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale slowly for 8. Set aside a few minutes each day for silence, where you connect to the rhythm of the universe without becoming its slave. And above all, practice acceptance. Not resignation, but flowing with wisdom. When the pendulum swings, it is not out of control. It is obeying the laws that hold the all in balance. The rhythm never stops. What matters is how you choose to dance. Learn to hear your own inner cycles, the tides of your soul, and harmonize with the universal flow. To master the law of rhythm is to find true freedom.
The 6th principle: cause and effect. Imagine an immense cosmic loom, where every thread is woven with absolute precision into the great tapestry of existence. Every event, every thought, every breath is part of this design. There are no loose threads, no accidents. Everything you have ever lived, the unexpected encounters, the painful challenges, the moments of ecstasy, all of it has an origin, a cause. And every cause has its effect. This is the 6th Hermetic Principle, the law of cause and effect, and it states, every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is merely a name given to a law not yet recognized. When you grasp the depth of this, you realize nothing in life is arbitrary. What you call luck or misfortune is in truth the effect of invisible causes you yourself planted. Sometimes in this life, sometimes in dimensions of your existence, you don't yet remember. And more than understanding this law, you can learn to master it and become the architect of your own destiny. Behind the apparent chaos of the universe lies a flawless order. Every event you experience, from your greatest triumphs to your deepest wounds, is the result of a chain of causes. Nothing simply happens. But here is the secret the initiates understood. There are different levels of causality. Most people operate only on the physical plane, reacting to external causes like leaves blown by the wind. feeling themselves prisoners of forces beyond their control. The Hermeticist knows the most powerful causes are not born on the physical plane at all. They are born on the mental plane. The mind is the field of creation, where the first seed of every cause is planted. Your thoughts, intentions, and emotions are causal forces, shaping not only your actions but the very experiences you attract. Consider a word spoken in anger. It looks like a momentary reaction, but it is the effect of a prior cause, a thought or feeling already vibrating within you. And that word generates its own new effects, a conflict, a rupture, or an opening for learning. The chain of causality runs endlessly in every direction. Chance, then, is simply the name we give to our ignorance of the law. And when you understand that, a door opens. You no longer have to be a spectator, struck by effects whose causes you cannot see. You can become a conscious creator, planting the seeds of the future you intend to harvest. This is the promise of the sixth law, the freedom to step out of the role of victim and into the role of master. Roll a die. When it lands, the number seems like pure chance, but it isn't. The outcome depends on how you held it, how much force you used, how it spun, the surface it struck. Not luck, a set of causes producing a result. We only reach for the word chance when we cannot see all the reasons behind something. Flip a coin, and it seems random. Yet if you could observe the exact force and angle in air, you could predict the result. A sudden storm seems fortuitous, but it follows precise laws: pressure, temperature, humidity aligning to produce it. With full knowledge of the conditions, it could be predicted. What looked like chance was a natural event guided by exact causes. And the same is true of human life. Success and failure are not luck. Every event is the effect of a cause, an action, a thought, a choice made long ago. To understand this law only through the physical plane is to stare at the tip of an iceberg and mistake it for the whole. Causality operates across multiple planes at once: mental, astral, physical. Since Newton, science has held causality as a cornerstone. For every action, an equal and opposite reaction. No force, no movement, no event occurs without a prior cause. When an apple falls, it's the effect of gravity. When a stone strikes water, the ripples are the direct effect of the impact. But modern physics went further. In quantum mechanics, causality behaves in ways that seem to defy our sense of it. Entanglement suggests that particles separated by vast distances can influence one another instantly, challenging our linear picture of cause and effect. It raises the question: is there a deeper dimension where invisible causes operate beyond time and space? The Hermeticist answers yes, and always has. Causality transcends the physical, working on subtler levels of existence. A persistent thought of fear can create tension in the body and lead to illness. Thoughts of love and gratitude can foster health and well-being. The cause on the physical plane originated on the mental one. This is the deeper meaning of a word most people misunderstand: karma. It comes from Sanskrit, meaning action. But in the spiritual sense, it refers to the total consequences generated by our actions, thoughts, and intentions. Every cause you create, consciously or not, leaves a mark on the fabric of the universe, and those marks eventually return to you as effects. And here is the subtlety. It is not only what you do, but how you do it. The same action creates different karma depending on the intention behind it. Helping someone to inflate your ego generates one kind of energy. Helping from genuine compassion generates another. As Krishna taught in the Bhagavad Gita, action is inevitable, but the wise act without attachment to the fruits of their actions. Karma is this law seen through the lens of the soul's journey across many lifetimes. While cause and effect on the physical plane can be immediate, touch fire, get burned, spiritual karma unfolds over far longer cycles. Its causes can span lifetimes, creating repeating patterns that offer chances to learn and evolve. Someone who abuses power in one life may return in circumstances of powerlessness, so they can finally learn empathy and balance. And this is the great misunderstanding about karma. It is not a system of punishment and reward. It is a teaching mechanism designed to guide the soul toward harmony. Karma does not return to you what you deserve. It returns what you need in order to grow. It offers you the chance to see your errors, correct your course, and align with the higher laws. It exists not to imprison you, but to liberate you. As Eliphas Levi said, "He who knows the law does not complain of it. He uses it for his purpose." We live in a world where most people feel at the mercy of circumstance, victims of fate, of luck, of misfortune. This creates an invisible prison where responsibility for one's destiny is handed to something outside the self. But the sixth law offers extraordinary liberation. It reveals that you are the creator, conscious or not, of everything you experience. The first step to mastery is to take full responsibility for your life, not to blame yourself for the past, but to understand that in some way, through thought, action, or omission, you were the cause of what you have lived. When you stop blaming the world and start looking within, you walk out of the role of victim. Imagine your mind as a fertile field, and every thought as a seed. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and resentment yield bitter fruit. Thoughts of courage, love, and gratitude yield a harvest of harmony and prosperity. The mind is the first mover. What you create there inevitably manifests on the material plane. Master the mind, and you master the cause. Master the cause, and you master the effect. Even the wisest master cannot escape the causes they themselves planted in the past. But rather than resisting unwanted effects, the master embraces them as lessons. As the Buddha said, "What you are today is the result of your thoughts of yesterday. What you will be tomorrow is the result of your thoughts today." What separates the master from the victim is not the absence of challenges. It is how they meet them. The master sees the effects in their life not as punishments or rewards, but as perfect reflections of their own actions and intentions. Life is not happening to them. It is happening through them. To master this law is to become free, not a freedom that escapes the law, which is impossible, but a freedom that arises from alignment with it. You become the conscious creator of your reality, the alchemist who turns every moment into an opportunity for evolution. So the question that decides everything is this: what seeds are you planting today? Are you creating the reality you desire, or perpetuating the patterns that imprison you? The answer is in your hands. Be the master.
The seventh principle, gender. Imagine a tiny seed. It seems inert, almost insignificant, until it's placed in the soil. And then something extraordinary happens. The seed, carrying within it the masculine principle of potentiality, meets the fertile soil, the feminine principle of nourishment and receptivity. Together they begin a process that turns something simple into a majestic tree full of life and purpose. This is a perfect image of the seventh and final Hermetic principle, the law of gender. Just like the seed and the soil, everything in the universe, including your mind and your spirit, depends on the interaction and balance of masculine and feminine energies to create, to transform, and to manifest. This law transcends the ordinary notion of male and female. It points to a universal dynamic of complementary forces woven through all of creation. At its core, this law teaches that everything in the universe contains two complementary principles, the masculine and the feminine. These are not biological or social categories. They are archetypal forces that shape the workings of all existence. The masculine is active, expansive, projective energy. The creative impulse, the initiating will, the spark that sets movement in motion, like a ray of sunlight touching the earth, without which nothing could germinate. The feminine is receptive, nurturing, generative energy, the fertile soil that transforms a seed into a tree, embodying introspection, intuition, and the power to create from within. They are not opponents. They are two halves of one whole, and together they create universal harmony. And this is the essential point. Masculine energy does not belong only to men, nor feminine energy only to women. Both forces live within every being in constant interplay. The masculine is the active principle, movement, logic, direction, creative force. It is the spark that turns potential into reality. Without it, there is no action, and without action, no creation. But like every universal force, it requires balance. In harmony, it is a flowing stream that moves mountains and fertilizes the land. Out of balance, it becomes a destructive flood. It is symbolized by the sun, the sword, the lightning bolt, bringing discernment, reason, clarity, the drive to overcome obstacles and stay aimed at a goal like an arrow at its target. Jung saw it in the archetypes of the warrior with his courage and discipline, the king with his leadership and integrity, the magician who turns knowledge into power, and the lover who directs passion into meaningful connection. But watch what happens when the masculine loses its balance. In excess, the individual seeks to dominate everything and everyone, certain their vision is the only correct one. This authoritarianism turns rigid, suffocating relationships and blocking creativity. Competition becomes an addiction. Everything, a battle to prove superiority, turning allies into rivals and breeding isolation. Logic seizes full control and silences all emotion, leaving a strange emptiness, a sense of fighting the world without knowing why. And in deficiency, the opposite. The potential exists, but the force to realize it is gone. Decisions are delayed, responsibilities avoided, and days drift by without purpose, like a boat without a rudder. There is insecurity, passivity, dependence on others to choose. The person becomes a spectator in their own life, fragile before challenges that the balanced masculine would meet with courage. Cultivated in balance, the masculine is the fire that warms and transforms, guiding with courage, clarity, and purpose. To develop it is an act of self-love, a recognition of the divine power within. The feminine is the receptive, fluid, intuitive side of all things. It lives in feeling, in delicacy, in intuition and attention to detail, in insight, receptivity, ancestral wisdom, compassion, patience, and creativity. While the masculine is an arrow moving forward, the feminine is the space that embraces the arrow, transforms it, and gives its motion meaning. In Hermeticism, it is called the passive principle. But passive here does not mean inert. It means receptive, the power to absorb, to nurture, to transform. It is the mystery, the intuition that connects us to the invisible, the force that lets us understand without words and create from nothing. Its clearest image in nature is the lunar cycle, the moon waxing and waning, symbolizing fluidity, receptivity, and transformation, governing the tides and the deeper cycles of life. Jung mapped its archetypes too: the mother, nurturer, and protector, source of life; the maiden, youth and potential, and the beginning of new cycles; the wise woman, holding the deep knowledge that guides and illuminates; and the queen, who unites the power to lead with the heart to nurture. And the feminine, too, falls out of balance. In excess, we lose our center and are flooded by emotion, with no structure to meet challenges, small problems amplified, feelings drowning us, boundaries dissolving until we cannot say no, and everything and everyone floods in, leading to overload and a sense of being trapped by circumstance. In deficiency, we lose our connection to intuition and to our creative, nurturing essence. It becomes hard to listen to ourselves or feel what others feel. Ideas stop arising. The inner world turns barren. Empathy fades and we grow distant and cold. But balanced, the feminine brings deep empathy, genuine listening, reconnection with intuition, and the power to generate life and create from nothing, like the earth herself, generating and nourishing. Its true power lies precisely in its softness, the ability to perceive and transform the world from within. This law reaches beyond humanity into the entire cosmos, across all three planes: physical, mental, and spiritual. In the plant kingdom, pollen, masculine, is carried to the ovary of the flower, feminine, and from that union come fruit and seed. Among animals, the mating dance repeats the pattern: active pursuit and receptive choice, ensuring the continuation of life. In the great theater of existence, the masculine directs the energy, acting as the initial force that awakens the creative potential of the feminine. But it is the feminine that performs the act of creation itself, the matrix that transforms impulse into form and gives life to what was only possibility. And neither can act alone. The masculine, however powerful, can produce nothing without the receptive feminine. The feminine, however fertile, lacks the initiating spark without the masculine. This is why, in all of organic life, we find the masculine within the feminine and the feminine within the masculine, like yin and yang, dancing in eternal harmony. Within every human being there is a sun and a moon, a king and a queen. When the two dance in harmony, the soul blossoms. The balance of these energies within you is the secret to true harmony, creating a magnetic field capable of drawing what you desire toward you. The ancient alchemists called this union the alchemical marriage, the fusion of the active masculine and receptive feminine into a whole, awakened being. It is not merely a metaphor. It is a spiritual and psychological practice, the integration of your inner opposites. Masculine energy as logic, action, and focus. Feminine energy as intuition, receptivity, and creativity. Together, they form the perfect unity, like yin and yang, where each force already contains a seed of the other. Before you can balance them, you must recognize which one currently dominates your life.